Hi guys, welcome to another crochet tutorial with me, Laura, and today we are making a teeny tiny little piggy in celebration of Chinese New Year. And I'm going to try and say Happy New Year in Chinese, but I'll do my best. 新年快乐. I hope that's well pronounced, I don't know. Anyway, let's begin. So for this tutorial we're going to be using any yarn really that you like. I'm just using a little DK light worsted weight yarn. I've made one in pink already, but I don't know, should I do peach? I think the pink might turn out better, mightn't it? So I might do another pinky pig. And with that I'm going to be using quite a small crochet hook, actually a 2mm crochet hook. If you've got a 2.5 that's fine too, even a 3mm, so whatever you've got to hand. You're also going to need a little bit of toy stuffing as well, or some yarn scraps for stuffing, and it's a good idea to have a pair of scissors and a sewing needle as well. I find a normal sewing needle with quite a big eye is better than a yarn needle, but a yarn needle works just as well. And you're also going to need a little bit of black yarn as well, which I forgot, so I should have scrubbed some of that as well. A little bit of black yarn as well, just for the eyes. Okay, so let's begin, shall we? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is put him out of frame so it doesn't focus on him instead. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to chain 3, so let's do our little slip knot and chain 3. So we're going to start off by making his nose, and the great thing about this pattern is there's no sewing involved except at the very end on his little bottom. He's even got a little hole for his bottom except for his tail and his eyes, but you'll see. So we're going to chain 3, so chain 1, 2 and 3. Chain 3. We're going to do 2 single crochet in our second chain from our hook, so that's the one in the middle. So we don't count the loop on our hook. There's our first chain, there's our second. So we're going to put our hook into there, and we're going to do 2 single crochets. So this pattern's in US terminology, so in UK terminology it's a double crochet. So that's 1, and we're going to go back into there again and do another single crochet. Okay, so you've got 2 in there, and we're going to do 2 in the last chain as well. So this one here, we'll do another 2 single crochet, 1 and 2, another one in there. Then what we want to do is rotate our work upside down. So we're going to turn it clockwise, and we're going to do another 2 single crochet in that same last chain. So go back into there again, do another 2 single crochet, and then you want to find the other chain that you worked into over here, this second one that you did, and we're going to put our hook into there and do 2 single crochet in there as well. So you end up with 4 single crochets either side of your chains. Okay, so it looks like that. You've got 4 this side, 2 there, 2 there, then 2 there and 2 there. Okay. Then what we want to do is we're just going to slip stitch into our first single crochet that we did. So you should have 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So in that first one, we're going to slip stitch into there. Bring your yarn through. Okay, and then do a little chain 1, which we won't count as a stitch, it's just for leverage. So that's the beginning of his little nose, and then what we're going to do, we're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So starting in that same stitch you just slip stitched into, I'm going to go back into there and do 1 single crochet, and do 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So that's, should have a stitch count of 8. That's 2. Next stitch 3, 4, next stitch 5, next stitch 6. It's good to count as you go, you'll see why in a minute. 7, and then the last one 8, and then it looks like there's another stitch there, but that was our slip stitch from the beginning of the round, so we don't want to work into there. So you want to skip fake stitch, as I call it, and that's your little chain one. You want to skip that, and then you want to find your first single crochet, which is all the way over here. So you put your hook into there, bring the yarn through, and then just popping out your nose, give it a little pull, and then do a slip stitch. Okay, so it looks like this. You should still have a stitch count of 8. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to do a little chain one to begin. Again, don't count that as a stitch. And we're going to start off by working into that same stitch you just slip stitched into. And we're going to do 3 single crochet in there. So go back into there and do 3 single crochet, all in the same stitch. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 3 stitch all in that same first stitch. Then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 3. So 1, next stitch 2, next stitch 3. So 1 single crochet in the next 3. Then we're going to do 3 single crochet in the next stitch. So this next stitch here, we do 3 single crochet, all in the same stitch. So that's 1, go back into there again, 2, back into there again, 3. Okay, and then we're going to do 3 single crochet in the next stitch as well. So next stitch, 1, back in there again, 2, back in there again, 3. Okay, 3 single crochet in there as well. And then that should leave us with 2 stitches. We're going to do 1 single crochet in the next stitch, just the 1. And then our last stitch here, we're going to do 3 single crochet. So 1, back in there again, 2, back in there again, 3. Okay, and then that's your little fake stitch there. Your chain one is virtually disappeared. Find your first single crochet here. You can always count back to it. You're not sure which one it is. Slip stitch into there to finish the round. So by the end of that round you should have a stitch count of 16. Okay, then we're going to do a little chain one, don't count that as a stitch, and we're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around, so just 1 in each. So starting in that same stitch you just slip stitched into, do 1 single crochet and 1 single crochet in each stitch around, so keeping a stitch count of 16. Next stitch 2, next stitch 3, next stitch 4, so on and so forth. 5, 14, 15, and back to the beginning, 16. Okay, so I've done 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and then that's your little fake stitch, as I call it. That's your chain one. Skip those, find your first single crochet and slip stitch into there. Okay, so that's the end of that round, round 4. Now we're going to start creating his ears. So we're going to do a little chain one, don't count that as a stitch. And we're going to do 1 single crochet in the first 3. So go back into the same stitch you just slip stitched into, do 1 single crochet in there, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and 1 single crochet in the next stitch. Okay, so 1 single crochet in the first 3. Then we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and we're going to do 1 single crochet in that first chain that we did. So a single crochet in there, and then we're going to slip stitch into this same stitch on the main that we just used, this one here where that 3rd single crochet was. Go back into there and do a slip stitch into there, and that creates his tiny little ear. Then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 5. So next stitch 1, next stitch 2, 3, 4 and 5, which takes us over to the other side of his little nose. And we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and do 1 single crochet in that first chain that you made. Do a single crochet in there, and then finding that stitch you last used on the main part of the pattern, go back into there and do a slip stitch. Okay, and then you should have 8 stitches remaining. We're going to do 1 single crochet in the remaining 8 stitches. So next stitch 1, next stitch 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the last one 8. Okay, then back at the beginning, that's our fake stitch, that's our tiny little chain 1. Find your first single crochet and slip stitch into there, then chain 1, ready for the next round. Okay, don't count that as a stitch. Okay, so moving on to round 6, we're going to do 1 single crochet in the first 3. So go back into that same stitch you slip stitched into, single crochet in there, single crochet in the next stitch, and a single crochet in the next stitch, and you're right up to your ear now. So what you want to do is you want to skip that chain 2, 1 single crochet in that slip stitch, and you want to find the next single crochet that you did on the main part of the project. So the best thing to do is find the little triangle that's created. This is your single crochet you did in the ear. You want to skip that. Just next to that is your slip stitch here, and you can tell that's a slip stitch because there's not very much underneath it. It's just that one bit of yarn there and there's a little bit of yarn here. So you want to skip that slip stitch, find your first proper stitch. You see you've got more going on underneath. You want to put your hook into there and just bring the yarn through, and then you want to pop your little ear to the front and then pull tightly, and then complete your single crochet. Okay, and then that's skipped his little ear. And we want to do 1 single crochet in the next 4 after that. So that would have been, well, it's in the next 5. That would have been the first one. So we've got 4 left. So 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1, next stitch 2, next stitch 3, next stitch 4, which takes us up to our next ear. And we want to do the same thing again. We want to skip the ear. So that's your single crochet you did in the chain. You want to skip that. There's your little slip stitch because you've only got that bit of yarn underneath and that bit of yarn there. It's a very small stitch. There's your first proper single crochet. You want to put your hook into there, bring the yarn through, then worry about the ear, pop it to the front, pull tightly and finish your single crochet. Okay, and once you've skipped the ear, we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 4. I've just noticed an error on the written pattern, so I'm going to have to change that. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, then we're going to create a little foot. So we're going to do the same thing as we did for the ears. We're going to chain 2, do 1 single crochet in that first chain, and slip stitch in the same stitch as your last single crochet in the main part. Then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 2. 1 and 2. So 1 single crochet in the next 2, and then we're going to chain 2 again, do the other foot. So chain 2, 1 single crochet in that first chain, and slip stitch in the same stitch on the main part, and then that should leave you with 1 stitch, hopefully. Yep, 1 stitch left. Just do 1 single crochet in there, and then we're going to slip stitch. That's our fake stitch, which looks like a stitch but it's not. It's our last slip stitch in the previous round. There's our tiny chain 1, find the first single crochet and slip stitch into there. Okay, so that's the end of round 6, and now we move on to round 7, and we're going to do a little chain 1 to begin. We're going to do 1 single crochet in the first 13 stitches. So going back into that same stitch you just slip stitched into, do 1 single crochet in the first 13. So that's 1, 2, 3, making sure his ear's out the way, 4, 12 and 13, which takes you up to the little foot. I want to do that skipping again that we did before. So there was a single crochet we did in the chain. You want to skip that little slip stitch there and find the first proper single crochet, which is right next to it. It actually looks quite small, so make sure you catch it. Put your yarn, bring your yarn through, and then pop the foot forward, give it a little tug, do your single crochet, and do a single crochet in the next stitch as well, which takes you up to your next foot. And you want to skip the next foot as well. So there's the single crochet, there is the chain. You want to skip all that and find that single crochet right next, which is quite small actually. It's quite hidden in the middle in there. Bring the yarn through, then pop the foot forward, give it a pull, do your single crochet. Then that's it. The next stitch is a fake stitch. Just skip that, skip chain 1, first single crochet, slip stitch into there. Okay, so that's the end of round 7. Now we're going to move on to round 8. We're going to create the back feet. So we're going to do 1 single crochet in the first 13. Do a little chain 1 first. 1 single crochet in the first 13, starting in the same stitch you just slip stitched into. Do 1, 2, 3, 12 and 13. So 1 single crochet in the first 13. Okay, and we're going to create another foot. So we are going to do chain 2, same as before, chain 2, 1 single crochet in that first chain, slip stitch in that same single crochet that you just used on the main, slip stitch into there, and then we're going to do, what we're going to do, 1 single crochet in the next 3 this time. So you should only have 3 left, to be honest. So 1, 2, and the last stitch under his foot, 3. So 1 single crochet in the last 3, but just before you slip stitch we're going to do another foot. We're going to chain 2, 1 single crochet in that first chain, slip stitch in that last stitch used, and then find your first single crochet you did and slip stitch into there. Chain 1, ready for the next round. Okay, so that was round 8. Moving on to round 9, almost at the end. We're going to do 1 single crochet in the first 13. So starting in the same stitch, just slip stitched into, 1 single crochet in the first 13. So that's 1, 2, 12 and 13. So 1 single crochet in the first 13. You should be up to your next foot, and again we're going to skip that single crochet that's on the chains, and that's your slip stitch there, and find the next single crochet, bring the yarn through, pop the foot forward, put it tight, do a single crochet, then 1 single crochet in the next 2 up to the next foot, and 2, skip this last foot. So it's going to skip basically everything. So that's a single crochet, that's your slip stitch. We're going to skip all that, but there's no stitches left, so we're going to find that first single crochet and we're going to slip stitch in there to join the round, because it's the end of the round. Okay, and that's into that round. Your stitch count should still be 16. And now what we're going to do is we're going to single crochet 2 together to reduce the stitch count back down to 8. So we're going to do a chain 1, and starting in that same stitch, I'm going to single crochet 2 together. Now you can either do the normal decrease, which is like this, where you go into that first stitch, bring the yarn through, stop, into the next stitch, bring the yarn through, and yarn over, pull through all 3. But for a neater finish, less bulky finish, I like to do the invisible decrease. And to do that, we go into the first stitch, but instead of going under both loops, we're just going to go under that first loop. And straight away, we're going to go into the next stitch, but instead of under both loops, just the first loop. So we're just catching the first 2 loops. Then bring the yarn through those loops, and then do a single crochet. That's the invisible decrease. I'm going to do that all the way around. So next stitch, front loop only, next stitch, front loop only, bring the yarn through, do a single crochet. Okay, so do that all the way back to the beginning. Next front loop, next front loop, single crochet, next front loop, next front loop, okay, next front loop, and just before it gets too small, I'm going to stop about halfway around that round. Bring up a little loop so you don't lose your work. Stop about halfway, and then we're going to take some stuffing, because otherwise it's going to get, the hole's going to get too small. So I'm going to take a little bit of stuffing. I'm going to stuff the pig. Okay, so it's stuffed the pig. And carrying on with our decreases, get my hook back in. I'm going to carry on with our decreases, single crocheting 2 together. Then I'm going to find the first single crochet and slip stitch into there. Okay, so that is the end of that round. What we want to do now though is create a little tail. So what I'm going to do is, checking a little character, a little piggy, find the top of his bottom, which is going to be about there, and we're going to slip stitch up to the top. So I'm going to go into the next stitch and slip stitch, and slip stitch in the next stitch. Then I think I might slip stitch in the next stitch as well. So when I slip stitch up to the top, I'm then going to chain about 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, going to chain 5. Then I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail, no pun intended, to sew. And I'm going to pull that through, and then we're just going to finish off our pig I'm going to take our needle. This is why I feel a sewing needle is a bit better. And thread that on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew through these chains. Let's go into this second chain. Just don't put it too tight yet. Then go into the next chain. And to the next chain. Back to the beginning. And then I'm going to just go into the top of the piggy. And I'm going to pull very slightly, and that just curls up his little tail. And then you may wish to use the remaining yarn to sew up the hole a little bit. It's entirely up to you, or you can leave it open. It's a little bit big, so I'm going to sew it up a bit. Without catching his tail. I'm just weaving in and out of the stitches. Just to drawstring in that hole a little bit. Then you can leave it, and we're going to hide our tail end. Once you're happy with that, I'm going to hide our tail end by sewing somewhere else on the body. Catching on the tail. It hides inside, and then go back in where you came out, go somewhere else. It catches on all the stuffing on the inside. And then we're just going to pull slightly, trim, and that tail end should disappear on the inside. So there we go, there is our little piggy so far, but you just need some eyes. So let's give him some eyes, shall we? So I'm going to take a little short bit of black yarn. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to, sort of about that far in, we're going to tie a knot. Like that. And then we're going to do one on top of it. Horse has just gone past my window. And you may want to do another one on top of that as well. 3, nice and tight. So you've got 3 knots on top of each other. And then we're going to take the other end, the longer end, thread that onto our needle, and then working out where you want the eyes, we're going to sew on our eyes. So that's his feet underneath. Where should we put the eyes? Out there. I'm going to go in and then come out the other side. So yeah, come out to the other side where you want the other eye to be. Pull that through. This needle's too big. And then that knot should catch on the outside. Like that. So it should catch on there. And then what we want to do is we want to work some knots here, and to do that, first of all, is create a knot like that and try and place the end of the knot against the project, okay? And then just put your nail, your finger there, and then pull, and that knot will stop on top of the project. And you want to do another one on top of that. So again, we're just going to create a knot. Let's create the knot. Then you want to hook that over the other knot, okay, and then hold that with your finger, and hopefully that should catch on top of the other knot, okay, like that. And then what we need to do is just sew in these ends. So let's see if I can get this threaded onto here, and we just want to go back in near to the eye and maybe just come out on his bottom. Okay, and do the same for the other side as well. So both tail ends are at the back. And there's these little eyes, and then you can just trim those down. And do a better job than that of me, and then hide those tail ends on the inside. And there we go. And there is our little piggy to go with our other piggy. And for some reason, although this is exactly the same pattern, he's ended up smaller than the other piggy, and I think that's because I've done it on camera. Sometimes when I do crochet on camera, I end up crocheting smaller, so you can have a lot of fun with different size yarns and hooks to make your little piggies. So there we are, 2 little piggies. So happy Chinese New Year, and I'll see you soon for some more crochet fun. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.